welcome to Long Pond, Pennsylvania. It's the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards, the Pocono Arca 200 from Pocono Raceway. And yes, that is a slight haze that is hovering over the racetrack right now. 68 degrees is the temperature. Overcast is the skies. And the cars are working their way around this 2.5 mile. Very tricky racetrack. Hello, everyone. I'm Rick Allen alongside Phil Parsons and Darrell Waltrip. Now, I say tricky racetrack, very unique, DW.
I think that's the right word for this place. And let me tell you why. It's got 3 very distinct turns. First turn down here, based on a turn that was at Trenton, New Jersey. It's got 14 degrees of banking. You go up that long back straightaway into the tunnel turn. That's got 6 degrees of banking. That's based on a turn from Indianapolis. Go to the third turn. It's got 8 degrees of banking, and that's a Milwaukee turn. So they took all their favorite racetracks and threw them into one, and they only had 3 tracks. If it had a 4th one, it might have been better.
And the weather's a little bit different today, Phil. How will that affect our racing?
It's a lot different, and all the guys in the garage are very concerned about the gearing. These cars are limited to 8,800 RPMs through the ignition boxes, and they can run any gear they want, unlike the Sprint Cup cars who have to run a certain gear. So all the guys think, because of the hot temperatures yesterday and the slower pace, that they're going to have too much gear, and when they're going to hit the rev limiter, and that means that the engine essentially will not produce any more horsepower once it hits that rev limiter, and it will be stagnant. So we could see a lot of guys with real high gears not turning that as many RPMs, really going down into the straightaway a lot better than the other guys do.
3,740 foot down this front straightaway.
Yeah.
Long time.
It should be very interesting as the field reaches turn number 1. Let's take a look at our starting grid on the front row. Brennan Poole and Ty Dillon. Ty Dillon has a pretty sizable lead coming into this race, just the 7th race of the season in the point standing.
Yeah, over that Frank Kimmel, that's starting 3rd here. Frank, a 3-time winner here at this racetrack.
Tim George Jr., Chet Hockenbrough making up row number 4.
Bobby Gerhardt has won Daytona 97 times, I think, in the ARCA Racing Series.
Ever how many times he's been in it.
And Bobby's from this area. He's from Pennsylvania, so he definitely wants to do well here at Pocono, but has never been able to win away from Daytona or Talladega.
In row 7, Matt Merrill will have to go to the back of the pack for getting the inspection line late.
Mary-F. Defoe start this race in the 15th position.
There's Tom Birdie. Drives for Venturini Motorsports.
Frank Kimmel, we talk about the veteran. He starts in the 19th spot.
There's Darrell Basham, longtime competitor here in the series, starts back in the 24th spot. How about James Hilton?
I raced with him in 1972 when I was a rookie, and he's still racing. Look at the man go.
The 1966 NASCAR Grand National Rookie of the Year.
I'm proud of him. I love it.
Benny Chastain.
He will carry one of our onboard cameras in the 75 car. Mattioli, do you recognize that name?
Well,
grandson of the owners of the racetrack.
But not only do you recognize the name from this race and from obviously the Pocono Raceway, but he ran in the Truck Series race last night in Texas and has made it here for this race today.
Y'all were on the same flights together, I guess.
I think he had a little bit easier route. The Menards Pole Award presented by Ansel goes to Brennan Poole. So Poole wins the pole.
And I got him in the pool.
For more on our pole winner, let's go down to one of the 2 on pit road, Jim Trado.
Thanks, Rick. It's a very youthful front row as well. Just 20 years of age. Brennan Poole made 1 career ARCA start. It was this year at Salem Speedway. He started on the front row, and he won that race in the 25 for Billy Venturini. He's the crew chief in Colorado. I asked him right before we went racing, I said, Billy, what impresses you most about this young man? He said, there's not just one thing. It's a long list. Very impressed with this young man. His only time on a speedway larger than a mile, 20 laps in a test at Michigan a few weeks ago. Let's go down pit road to check in with Wendy.
Thanks, Jim. Domination is the theme for young Ty Dillon. He has 3 wins of our 6 races in the ARCA Racing Series, but he's never been here to Pocono. I just spoke with crew chief Scott Nassett. He said the key was getting Ty comfortable with this race car and comfortable with this racetrack. So far, he looks pretty good. He's starting on the outside front row, trying to defend that series lead right now. Of course, he just graduated high school last week, guys.
One of the younger drivers in this field. We've got 18-year-olds. And the pace car will make the hard left turn, come on to pit road. That leaves the field back in the hands of Brennan Poole in that 25. The Venturini Motorsports entry. Green flag in the air. We're underway from Pocono. Ty Dillon has a great start on the outside, battling as they go into turn number 1.
Yeah, got a little drag race here going on down into turn 1. Let's see who prevails. That outside should be pretty good.
Boy, Brendan Poole gets a good run off the corner.
Boy, he does. He used that bottom lane to his advantage, the shortest way around.
A little bit of moisture on our camera lenses. They talked about a little bit of precipitation just before the start of this race, but it looks like the track is clear.
Got to get it going, man. Get these cars going. Get that vortex steering working. I think we got something to work with here.
Tim George, the 31 car, tried to work underneath Grant Enfinger.
Chris Buescher going for second, trying to take it away from Ty Dillon. Doing a little bit higher line.
Now they're up there on what we call the grip strip. They repaved an area of that turn about 3 or 4 years ago. A lot of grip in the middle of the turn there.
Chris Buescher able to hang in there pretty well with Ty Dillon. This is as good as it's going to be. These tires are as good as they're going to be right now.
Well, you see them back there. They always do that snaking thing down the front straightaway here. Go all over the track. Get a lot of draft down this long front straightaway. 3,740 feet.
And Phil, you talked earlier about the tires are going to be as good as they're going to be. The weather conditions probably the best that they've seen, so they're carrying more speed into turn number 1 than they have all weekend.
Yeah, without a doubt. And we saw it with the Sprint Cup qualifying, how much faster the speeds were than they were in practice.
They were about 2.5, 3 seconds faster from what they practiced. Go down that back straightaway, Rick. That thing is 3,055 feet down the back, and then the little short straightaway we're on right here coming to turn 3, 1,780 feet. You'll hit about 175, 80 mile an hour, even down the short chute.
Such a difficult racetrack, though, because you've got different bankings and the different turns. You set up for one.
It's a compromised racetrack, but if you're going to be good, you want to be good on the flat end. Tunnel turn, turn 3. Turn 3 particularly, because that brings you down here to the start-finish line.
Kimmel goes low, trying to take third away from Chris Buescher. Buescher runs that little higher line through 3.
And there are times when you have a car here that's so good, it'll be good in all 3 corners, won't it, Darrell?
I take 1 out of about every 30 times you come here. But, you know, is Frank Kimmel not revitalized this year? I mean, that guy has come alive this year. Had some great runs.
Has been very close to getting back to victory lane. Has 73 wins in the ARCA Racing Series. That's second only to Iggy Katona. And he's closing in on that number, too.
Yeah, top 10s all 6 races so far.
Wendy Venturini.
And Frank Kimmel comes into Pocono, one of the 2 guys in this field that have won at this racetrack. He has 3 wins at Pocono, most recently in 2006. And he's been on a roll in 2011 with 6 top 10s in our 6 races. And this race car he has here at Pocono, chassis number 320, it's the same car that Frank ran here at Pocono last year. He's hoping to gain some points on our leader, Ty Dillon, our points leader, Ty Dillon.
Ty Dillon's in front of him right now. Ty Dillon running in the 2nd spot. Chris Buescher holding on to 3rd. Kimmel is 4th. Still out front, it's Brennan Poole.
It's a great illustration of the draft Darrell was talking about here. Frank Kimmel used that draft to pull to the inside of Chris Buescher when they got down to turn number 1. Wasn't able to make the pass, but the draft is critical here.
This is an 80-lap race. That's 200 miles around this 2.5-mile triangle.
There's Grant Enfinger right there with the 36 car. Great opportunity for him to run full time. He was always competitive in the limited number of races that he ran in the series, but a great opportunity with the Allgaier team to run full time.
Field is starting to spread out now as Poole has a 1.1 second lead over Ty Dillon. Then it's almost 2 seconds back to Chris Buescher. Kimmel is 2.5 seconds behind our leader, and Enfinger 2.7 seconds back.
Poole's been running some of the UARA races. I talked to his crew chief, Rock Harris. They've run 5 races with him this year, and he won 3 out of the 5. And guess what happened the other 2? He ran 2nd. This kid
pretty good average.
Rock said this kid is the real deal. He's got talent. He's a good young man, and
got a pretty girl on the hood too.
Got somebody on the hood.
Lacey Green on the hood, and let's go down to Jim Trado.
Just a quick update. His crew chief, Billy Venturini, finally asked him, how's the car? And Brennan Poole, the race leader in the 25, said a little free on exit. This many laps in, Darrell, Phil, I mean, is it just the kid getting used to this place, or is it something to worry about this early?
You know what I love about guys like him? What they don't know, they don't know. And he doesn't really probably know what a car is supposed to feel like here. This is the biggest racetrack he's been on. He's been running. He ran at Salem, won at half-mile track there. High Bank won, but this is a big racetrack for him. Big change.
And he goes way into the high groove, going by the 75 of Benny Chastain. And remember, folks, there has been a little precipitation around this racetrack. That may also be a loose condition for him.
And see, that's something that a veteran driver may not have done. But again, he doesn't know. He'll take chances. He'll go places where he doesn't know he can't go.
He may not know that there's not a lot of grip up there in the third or fourth lane.
How's it feel? Well, it's a little loose when I got up high like that.
Brian Silas just in front of the 82 of Sean Corr. Sean Corr trying to reel him in as we still see Brennan Poole putting more cars a lap down, working his way through turn 3 and onto the front stretch. That battle for third still brewing. Chris Buescher just in front of Frank Kimmel. One of the longest straightaways in all of racing right here at the Pocono Raceway in our front stretch.
It's incredible when you come off turn 3 and you look down at the end of the straightaway turn 1. It seems like it would take forever to get there, but at speeds upwards of 185, 190 miles an hour, you get there fairly quick.
Yeah, but I'd say on a day like this, come off turn 3, you can't even see turn 1. It's pretty hazy looking down there, and it's a long way.
There is a haze in the air. And Brennan Poole continues to dig out in front. Grant Enfinger in the 36 trying to close the gap between he and Kimmel.
Frank Kimmel had the fastest lap that last time by about 0.3 of a second over the second fastest car, and that was Chris Buescher.
Yeah, Frank's closing right up on the back of Buescher here. Get a little draft down this front straightaway. But like you said in the opening, that rev limiter probably is slowing these guys down at the end of this front straightaway. They may not be able to utilize that good draft that we get here.
About to have a battle for the lead as we've seen Ty Dillon close the gap now between he and Brennan Poole.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Hang
Poole
on, buddy.
Sideways going through turn number 1. That allows Ty Dillon in the 41 to try to take that momentum and get by.
A little bit loose off the corner.
That's what he said. I was just going to say. He said she's a little loose off the corner. That looked real loose to me. You know, it might be getting wet because I see.
Take a look at the cameras out here.
I see a lot of dipping dots
on there. Is that what you were calling them earlier?
Yeah, on our camera lens.
So Ty Dillon has been able to get in front of Brennan Poole after Poole was sideways working his way through turn number 1.
That's allowed Chris Buescher, Frank Kimmel also to close up.
Yeah, this, you know, he told Billy things a little loose off.
That was a nice catch. That car was pretty sideways.
And you could see all the moisture on our camera lens too. I think it's a little wet right in there.
Grant Enfinger's closed the gap now between he and Frank Kimmel, and now we've got a battle for the lead once again. Here comes the 25 of Brennan Poole. He hasn't had enough. These two actually finished first and second at Salem earlier this year, except it was Poole who was going to victory lane, and Dillon finished second.
Man, he's hanging on to that thing because it is bad loose, but loose is fast.
Yeah,
and
he's not
making it fast.
He's not backing off at all. He clears Ty before they get to the grip strip over there.
Yep. That grip strip we're talking about, folks, that's why they run the middle of that turn. It was repaved, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. Has a lot of grip up high because we used to run the bottom of that corner. That really created a new lane when they paved that.
Normally considered the shortest way around is the bottom of the racetrack, but as you mentioned, a little more grip. And now the battle for fourth. Kimmel trying to hold off Grant Enfinger. Wendy.
Just to add on Ty Dillon, you know, when he took the lead from the 25 of Brennan Poole, he did report to his crew chief, to his team, that there was rain on the racetrack, and he just said again, reported, I'm going to wreck in this rain. They just reminded him, don't overdrive it, just keep the leader in your sight, but definitely a problem for those guys running out front.
Yeah, Wendy, it's got to. I mean, that'll drive it. You just get loose like he did, and you know the track is wet, and now you're not sure just how hard to push it.
They're on the edge of control anyway, and then you add some moisture to the equation, and it could be disastrous.
Right now we're seeing Ty Dillon trying to chase down that 25 of Brennan Poole. Brennan Poole, after winning the Poole yesterday, was able to get out front, lead laps. Ty Dillon challenged him, but he's back out front. Coverage of the ARCA Racing Series on Speed is brought to you by Burger King, home of the Whopper, and by Menards. Save big money at Menards. A hazy day in Long Pond, Pennsylvania, and that is how hazy it is. You can barely see the cars as they're into turn number 2, but it's Brennan Poole that's in front of Ty Dillon now as they've completed 11 laps on lap number 12.
They're running about a second and a half slower right now than what they had qualified, but again, everyone thought their times were going to be so much faster, but That moisture on the racetrack's making it slick, TW.
Right now they're just skating around the racetrack. Yeah, I'm surprised that they're able to actually run as fast as they are, because, folks, it's just as hazy as it looks like it is on your TV.
Here comes Enfinger trying to take fourth away from Frank Kimmel. It's hard that higher line.
Yeah, it's hard to do it on that bottom. If you're not in the grip strip, it's really hard to get the grip down there in the bottom of the racetrack.
Jim Trader, what are they talking about with that 3016?
Brent Enfinger's driving the same car that won here last year with driver Rob Brent. Brent radioed in a lap ago. The car's a little tight off turn 1 in the tunnel. Otherwise, the car's pretty good. The crew reminded him to try to save some fuel.
Oh, me.
Early on in the race.
Oh, me.
13 laps have been completed, and they're saying save fuel.
Talking to the crew chiefs in the garage area, they say the pit window is somewhere between 35 and 40 laps. They were not able to top these cars off after qualifying, so that's another 7.5 miles of fuel that they burn out of it before the race even started.
Just in the Cup Series, just like the last few weeks, fuel at Charlotte, fuel at Kansas. We know this joint's a fuel conservative race. This is a fuel mileage race. Then we're going to the Michigan. That's a fuel race. We're going to the road courses. That's always fuel. Fuel, fuel, fuel.
Rocketing down the front straightaway once again. The battle for fourth continues. Grant Enfinger trying to chase down that 44 of Kimmel. Battle for 11th between the 6 of Brian Silas, who has the spot, and the 82 of Sean Corr, who continues to dog him for that position.
That's Eddie Sharp's car, number 6 right there. Eddie, a longtime competitor in the ARCA series, and won the championship with Justin Lofton a couple years ago.
Good car. Very good car.
Looking to the inside. They're going to turn number 1, side by side now for that spot.
Hard to get down on that bottom. It's bumpy. When you get down low here on that turn 1 down there now, it's real bumpy. Here you're going to get a little bit of draft, going to pull out. Now he should get up next to him and get a little side draft, but he can't quite. I believe that rev limiter, that chip they have in here, is keeping these guys from taking advantage of the good draft you get here.
And they'll hit it on that straightaway as well as just the big straight here on the front side.
Brian Silas trying to stay in front of that 82 of Sean Corr. What's he talking about, Wendy?
It is loose, loose, loose for Brian Silas. Loose coming off, and he's starting to lose grip. The guy that started 13th in this race trying to fight for that position. But it's much of the same all across the board by a lot of these drivers. It's that wet racetrack, and it is still just a light drizzle here on pit road as well.
Brian Silas out of Florida.
It's a light drizzle when you're standing still. When you're running 180 miles an hour, it feels like it looks like it's pouring.
Can't
down.
see out of your windshield.
Looks like it's coming out of buckets on the windshield.
And it seems to be really like the worst over in off of turn 1 there.
Still the battle for fourth continues. Enfinger looks to the inside once again of Kimmel.
Once he tries to get the throttle down, he does a good job through the center of the corner. Let's see if Frank's going to have the momentum up off the corner.
That's the difference. You just get up high like that to get on that grip strip.
Side by side at the strip for fourth and for the lead. Ty Dillon trying to get by that 25. Moves him out a little bit when they go into turn number 1.
Oh, man, he is dancing all over the place with that 25 car.
Brendan Poole still able to hold on to the lead. Ty Dillon challenged him going into 1.
You know, some of these crew chiefs may be looking at this race at 40 laps, TW. They're thinking, hey, this thing, we get halfway. If it keeps raining, gets a little bit harder, that may be an official race.
Look at, how can it get any harder? I mean, you need windshield wipers today, baby.
So Brendan Poole has been able to hold off Ty Dillon one more time, but he's getting back into traffic. Stay with us here on Speed. Welcome back to the Pocono Arca 200 here on Speed, your motorsports authority. The battle for the lead now in Ty Dillon's hand. It was a problem for Brendan Poole to get around the slower lap traffic. Ty Dillon was able to make the pass and take the lead away.
Oh, yeah, they were slicing and dicing down there in turn 3, and Ty got a little bit better run off the corner. Was able to get ahead of Poole.
Those cars are pretty evenly matched, it looks like right now.
I believe the 25 is a little bit better, but I think the kid's being a little cautious, and I don't blame him. I would be too.
Surprisingly enough, can we say that Ty Dillon has a little more experience than Brendan Poole?
A little more, yeah. Just a little more.
And he's 19.
Right. Take a look at how the lead changed hands. Brendan Poole on the bottom of the racetrack in the 25. Look at Ty Dillon with the run on the high side.
Yep, he got up there and he got that momentum off the corner.
Wiggled a little bit up off the corner.
Still a car in the way, and watch this move right here. He slices right between the slow car, the lap car, takes the lead.
Defoe in the 12 car.
Wendy Benarini.
Well, listening to the radio of Ty Dillon, they said, good job just keeping your eyes open and taking advantage when Brennan Poole did let up a little bit in traffic. Ty took advantage of it and took that lead. He said it's getting really dark, and DW, you were right off of turn 1 is where it's the worst. He's trying, obviously, to be as careful as he can. They just keep reminding him this race could be 40 laps once we get to halfway. That's probably the goal that a lot of the crew chiefs on pit road are banking on.
That's funny when we just see the lead changing hands once again.
Once again, Brennan Poole goes after him.
Whoa, we got the wall. We've got the 7 of George Cushman.
No caution. Now there's a caution. Caution is out.
Caution's going to come out on lap 18.
DW, I think this is the opportunity to come down to pit road. Make sure you have enough fuel to get to halfway.
Yes, sir. This would be a good time.
Let's take another look at why we're under this first caution. Again, the 7 of George Cushman getting into the wall at the tunnel turn.
I would tell you what happened, but I can't see.
Looked like the leaders. That was actually Chris Buescher. Frank Kimmel went by on the inside. That got him up out of the groove on the outside. Probably a little wetter up there because the cars haven't been going through there, DW.
Yeah, I think he was trying to get out of the way.
He was running 17th. Just went a lap down. As you mentioned, the lead cars had gone by. So that put him a lap down, maybe trying to push a little bit harder. So the pace car is now pacing the field once again. A very hazy day here in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Brennan Poole back out front. Ty Dillon has been in front of this field. Those are the only 2 cars that have led laps here today.
I think they know if they get into pit road now, they can go at least to about lap 60, so they'll have a little bit of insurance on being able to get past halfway.
And, you know, that's the smart thing to do. But what if you were right here now and it started raining real hard and you just been
and you had just gone on pit road?
Pit road. Woo.
But we haven't got to halfway, so it's not going to be an official race anyway.
Right. Yeah. You lose your track position.
Right now we're only showing 16 cars on the lead lap.
Al Martin, the car being shown in the 16th position, at number 55. Another one of Venturini Motorsports entries.
This has got to be one of those times when it's just not as bad as it looks. Because some of those camera shots we've had with the water on the lens and how hazy it is, so I'm surprised that these guys have been able to do the job they've done.
We've been here many times when we've delayed practice because the officials from the tower cannot see the back straightaway.
Mariette Defoe in the number 12 will get the Aaron's Lucky Dog.
Here they come.
On to pit road, the field will come. There's a few takers early on. Brennan Poole, your race leader, leads Ty Dillon, 44, and the 41 on to pit road. Wendy?
And Ty Dillon comes down pit road in that second position. It is going to be a 4-tire change. He said, I'm just trying not to tear this thing up. His spotter said, I can no longer see you in the tunnel turn and going into turn 3. That's the difficult part, a little bit slow on there as we move forward to the 17 of Chris Buescher. Right rear wedge adjustment for that car, 4-tire stop, and he's trying to fight as he beats Ty Dillon of the 41 off pit road. Jim.
4 tires is the call for Brennan Poole from crew chief Billy Venturini. A half a pound of air to the left rear, 1 round down on the panier bar to help that situation where they're loose on exit. Got a little bit slow in the left rear, the 17, the 41, and the 31 of Tim George go by, as does Frank Kimmel. Poole goes up there.
Bad stop on the 25, really bad.
Chris Buescher wins the race off of pit road. The 41 of Ty Dillon came off second. Tim George Jr. comes off third, and Frank Kimmel came off fourth. The reason for our caution, the 7, George Cushman in the wall. Welcome back to Pocono Raceway. The cars have been on pit road. Some have not fared very well, though, on pit road.
Yeah, Brennan Poole came in with the lead, had a little bit of a issue on his pit stop. Restarts this race in the 4th spot. Let's take a look at what happened on Brennan Poole's pit stop.
Gets in his box, okay, no problem there. Hits his mark.
Guys going to make an adjustment.
Got a little adjustment going on. Tighten him up a little bit. He's complaining about being a little loose.
Watch the gas can.
Frank down there. Gas can man. The tire. I was wondering, Phil, about it being wet in the pits, if that would cause anybody any problem. We saw the left rear tire, the tire carrier there, slip and fall, and that's what put them behind.
And the right side tire was laying there too. I think he tripped over that as well.
Yeah, it's just a little wet right down there in the pits, and it caused him to slip and fall.
That's the view.
That's turn 2.
Yeah,
right
that's
there.
the view of turn number 2, and that's why right now we're still under a cautious pace because we haven't been able to go back to racing. The spotters can't actually see turn number 2, but coming off of pit road first was the 17 of Chris Buescher. Wendy, how'd they do it?
They definitely had a fast stop with those 4 tires, but I'll tell you what's going on pit road. A lot of these teams, including the 17 of Chris Buescher and the 41 of Ty Dillon, they have sent extra people down to between turns 1 and 2. Actually, Mike Dillon, the father of Ty Dillon, went over to turn 1 on a golf cart from inside the racetrack. Everyone's taking spare radios down there, and they are picking up the drivers because that's where the spotters are losing them, and then the spotters are picking them back up in the middle of 3. So that's kind of a touch and go situation for these spotters. The rain has really lightened up, guys, so I think we can get back to green racing.
Yeah, actually, for a little bit there, we couldn't even see the safer barrier down the back straightaway. Now it's starting to come back into view a little bit from here, but the problem is the race officials, they can't see the cars over on the back straightaway there and in tunnel turn, so we got to get it cleared up a little bit here.
Mary-Eve Defoe gets the Aaron's lucky dog. She'll get a lap back.
Mary-Eve got a top 10 finish her last time out at Chicagoland.
She's done a nice job this year.
She really has.
Been impressed.
17 cars on the lead lap in Pocono. Still a little bit of precipitation in the area. Stay with us. Welcome back. We're still under caution for the Arca Pocono 200 from Speed. I hear your Motorsports Authority out in front of the field. Brennan Poole was dominating early on in this race. He had the 41 of Ty Dillon chasing him around the racetrack. A couple times Ty was able to get by, but it has been a pretty strong performance early in this one for Brennan Poole once again.
See Frank Kimmel, the 44 car, following Brennan Poole. Frank, 9-time series champion here in the Arca Racing Series. There's Chad Hockenbraugh. What a distraught young man that had to be last week, DW.
Yeah, leading the race in Chicago.
Devastating right here. I mean, just blows it. Tire going in the corner, pounds that wall.
Ty Dillon ended up winning this race because of Chad Hockenbraugh's problem. And I was talking to Ty, said I wasn't going to beat him. I just got fortunate that Chad had some problems and that allowed me to win the race. But tough break for the Tasty Apple Chevrolet team.
Kind of reminds me of that race at Vegas that Red Keselowski was leading on the white flag that blew a tire going to the third turn. Mark Martin ended up winning the race.
Chad Hockenbraugh currently in the 8th position. Again, out in front, though, it's Chris Buescher. He won the race off of pit road. Ty Dillon being scored in the 2nd position. Tim George Jr. and Brennan Poole, your top 4. Frank Kimmel rounding out the top 5. That's Chris Buescher, our race leader. Again, we've completed 27 of the 80 laps. Wendy Venturini earlier said she thought it was lightening up as far as the moisture, the precipitation that was coming down. And now again, it is very difficult to see turn 2 in the backstretch here.
You get a good view right there as the cars come off. I think they came off turn 1, but yeah, they are. But we can't even see turn 1 really once we're showing this camera from halfway down the short chute over there, and we really can't even see turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're you can't see the cars from where we are.
Tomorrow on NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot, we'll break down that Busch and Childress confrontation, discuss what might have led to the blow up. That's all on NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot from Pocono. That's 10 Eastern, live on Speed. We're riding this one out. Started under inclement weather. They were able to get quite a few laps in, but the rain has slowed them down. Welcome back. The Arca Pocono 200 on Speed, your Motorsports Authority. Drivers being told 1 to go. The flashing lights have been turned off on the pace car. This is how we have got to this point. Green flag flew. It was Brennan Poole and Ty Dillon making up row number 1. Poole got out front but had his hands full.
Oh, I'm a little loose off, Oh, I'm real loose off.
All these drivers complaining about loose conditions. There's Ty Dillon going to use the lap car of Mary-Eve Defoe to get by Brennan Poole to get the lead back.
First caution came out when the 7 of George Cushman got into the wall. A bad pit stop by the 25 team relegated Brennan Poole all the way back to 4th.
See the tire carrier fall down over the right rear tire.
Once they made it back out onto the track, The haze stopped us from going back to green. Jim Trano, I believe you are with Billy Venturini.
We are in Brennan Poole's first time here at Pocono. What are you telling this young man to keep his cool as you guys lost a couple of spots on pit road?
There's nothing you got to do to keep Brennan Poole's cool. I mean, he is the most laid-back race car driver I've ever seen. He's doing an awesome job. The car seems to be very well balanced. I think we're going to be very good here. Had a problem with the pit stop, but I think we can overcome that. We got one more to make. Told the guys on pit road, if we're going to miss one, that's the one to miss it. We got to get the other one right. I expect him to be able to drive back to the front. At least we hope to. You know, getting that dirty air, you never know exactly what's going to happen. But Brennan's been awesome today, and he's just rock solid. He's doing a great job.
And a credit to this team. First time this car saw a racetrack was yesterday. Brand new car.
Yep, brand new car. And I don't know, Phil, I'm a little nervous about this restart.
How about turn one?
I'm just a real nervous about turn one, to tell you the truth. I just don't have a real good feeling about this.
So our race leader, Chris Buescher, on the outside, Ty Dillon on the inside.
Remember now, we waved off the restart. They're not going to stay. I think they were listening to you, DW.
Man, I feel better.
but not a double file restart.
Right.
A double file with lap cars on the inside back in the ARCA series.
Just kidding. One to go.
So they'll let them go around one more time before they see the green. Stay with us. Coverage of the ARCA Racing Series on Speed is brought to you by Ansell. For over 100 years, the world leading in hand protection. And by Sunoco, the official fuel of the ARCA Racing Series and fuel provider to 40 other racing series. Still under a cautious pace, Chris Buescher out in front of this field. A young Chris Buescher in front of this field, and a pretty wide spectrum between our youngest driver and our oldest driver on the racetrack.
Well, only 58 years difference?
We figured Chris Buescher was born around 92 or 93. That's just about 27 years after James Hilton was the NASCAR Sprint Cup Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, James Harvey Hilton. He was a great mechanic. And a lot like Kirk Shamerdine, he decided, hey, I'm tired of working on these things. I think I'll drive them a while. And he won Talladega. And I think that's the only race.
I think he won a couple races.
He might have won two.
Yeah.
But was a real, always had great cars. And guess what his car number was? 48.
48.
He was there.
And he's used 48. The retro paint scheme here in the ARCA Racing Series numerous times.
What a nice guy, though. James, so as you mentioned, he was a crew chief, a winning crew chief.
Yes, sir.
In the NASCAR series, and then just started the first year I think he ever raced was 1966, and he was the Rookie of the Year in the NASCAR Grand National, which became the Sprint Cup Series.
And we're hearing from the ARCA officials they're going to bring the field onto pit road.
We're going to be about 5 laps short of halfway. This will not be an official race until we get to lap 40.
Again, I guess you'd call it a haze, has moved back in over the racetrack to where you cannot see Long Pond straightaway. You can't see the tunnel turn or turn number 2. I mean, that's
down toward turn 1.
Yeah, that's down the front
and I
stretch.
only know that because they told me. Because if I was looking at that, I had no idea.
I see a wall. Now I can tell that it's probably the exit of pit road, of pit road there. So that's from turn 1 looking back towards the start-finish line. And pit road, which you obviously cannot see.
They're letting the drivers know they need to stay in the cars.
Yeah, you get out in this fog, you might not be able to find your car, so you better stay close by. Don't go too far away.
So Chris Buescher is scored as our race leader. Ty Dillon running second. Tim George Jr. third. Brennan Poole, the pole winner, is fourth. That's your fault, by the way. And Frank Kimmel is in the 5th spot.
I had him in the pool, by the way.
Brennan Poole in the pool, who won the pole. And earlier, we heard his crew chief talk about how he was cool. So we've covered all of the bases. Between races, NASCAR Race Hub is the place to hang. Dig deeper into the sport as the Hub brings fans into the trenches of NASCAR, analyzing, discussing, previewing, and recapping all of the action. It's all on NASCAR Race Hub. That's Monday nights at 7 Eastern on Speed. Red flag has come out Again, we have completed 35 of the 80 laps scheduled of the 200-mile race. We're under a red flag condition. This July, baseball's biggest stars will gather together in the Arizona desert for one spectacular night and summer's biggest event, as Fox brings you every thrilling moment of the 2011 Major League Baseball All-Star Game. Coverage begins Tuesday, July 12th, live from Phoenix. That's 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, only on Fox. I don't think they'll have this type of weather in Phoenix for the All-Star Game.
I'd take those jet dryers, I'd turn those stacks up in the air
and get rid of this fog.
So we can melt that fog out of here.
Right now we've got a fog that has halted progress of this race, and that has enabled Wendy Venturini to catch up with our race leader. Wendy.
And that is Chris Buescher, and that happened due to some pit strategy. You guys came out top spot after pit road. How bad was it out there, Chris?
It wasn't really so bad when we were fixing to go green there, but you know, the second wave kind of rolled in, and you come off turn 3 and you can't see the next corner here at Pocono. It'll kind of throw a curveball at you, but hopefully it'll go away. We can get back to racing.
Explain your race car and what you like about this racetrack, Pocono, your first ARCA start at this track.
It's a lot of fun. It's challenging. 3 completely different corners, and we're still trying to get a handle on all of them. But I think 3 is the one I need the most help. Just trying to get down this front straightaway here. But so it's a fun place as long as we get back to it. I think we got a good car. We were a little behind the 2 in front of us there in those laps leading up to it, but seem to be getting closer.
All right, good luck to Chris Buescher. I've heard Cup star David Reagan talking to him throughout this race so far. Let's head over to Jim Trado.
And Brennan Poole has the spotter for Brian Vickers on top of the grandstands, helping him through his first time here at Pocono. Brennan, you had the lead. Now you're back here in 4th. I'm certain you want to get this race back going. Tell us about your race car and how comfortable you are right now in this 25.
Well, our car is really, really good right now. You know, we're a little free getting back to the gas. We almost got ourselves in trouble pretty big coming off of 1. But we're just having a whole bunch of fun out here until this fog rolled in. So, you know, hopefully this fog can roll out of here and we can get back racing. Just having a lot of fun racing with Ty. You know, we've been able to pass each other a few times and just having a blast. Just want to thank Lacey Green for supporting us this weekend. Just means a lot to have her on the hood of my car for the summertime. Our album's just now coming out, so you guys need to check it out. She's a pretty good country singer. And Scott Doberman, I just appreciate all the help and the support, and Billy Venturini, and just all the guys that have been helping us out this week. You know, it's been a lot of fun. You know, I've been watching a lot of tape and a lot of video to help us get around here with Billy. And Billy, man, it's just been a great mentor, and I just feel really blessed and excited to be in this race car. I can't wait to get back going.
Now, when you had 20 laps at Michigan or so, and you said, hey, let's do Pocono, what were you thinking? How did you prepare for this race, and how did you get so quick so fast?
Well, I just watched a lot of films. I watched a few races from last year and some 2009 races, and a lot of Xbox playing before I came here. And I think just watching the film, you know, I was able to pick up the line and everything where I needed to run out, watching Mikey Kyle and Lofton and some guys like that. You know, some past really had some really good cars here, and I just watched them to try to figure some things out. And, you know, I feel like it helped me out a ton as a driver. But it makes my job a heck of a lot easier when Billy Venturini and all the Venturini guys can give you such an awesome race car like we've got here today. So we'll just take our time, be patient, and then work our way back up to the front. You know, I feel like we have a really good car. It was pretty good in traffic when I was behind the 41 car, and we were able to get back in front of them. So, you know, I'm just pretty confident in our race car. Hopefully we can get back up there, but you never know in racing. So we'll just take it one lap at a time and try to get back up front.
No doubt, guys, he's a quick study. As a matter of fact, when he was in Texas, growing up, he graduated after the 11th grade, so he got a chance to move to North Carolina and pursue his racing career. Good kid, quick study, very fast in the 25 is Brennan Poole.
You know, some of the short tracks he won on, we said he won Salem.
Yeah.
That's in his first ARCA start. But he also, like Hickory, he's won at Hickory in a UARE car. He's won, I think, Kingsport, Colburn, a lot of really tough short tracks. And this kid just took to every one of them. Like I said, running 5 times this year. He's won 3 and finished second in the other 2.
And I think it's really smart to watch videos from this racetrack and onboard camera videos. I mean, we see the onboard cameras. Benny Chastain has an onboard camera here. Well, he will get a DVD after this race of that onboard camera. And I think that's what Brennan's talking about, is watching the entire race from the view of an onboard camera. And it's amazing what you can pick up, because you can hear the throttle, and you can watch other cars and hear all the sounds and all the sights And it's amazing how much you can pick up doing that.
I can identify, okay, and you may not believe this.
With Xbox?
No, I can play better golf when I watch the pros play golf. It helps my golf game. So it's got to help your driving, right?
Absolutely.
He ran over 500 laps on the computer.
That's right.
He beat the computer.
I like the analogy between you and golf also. That's very, very good. Fog has stopped this race for just a moment. Stay with us.
Poor Rick. Poor.
Cars are rolling once again in Pocono. The Arca Pocono 200 about to get back underway. We've completed 35 of the 80 scheduled laps, and the fog has lifted enough to where we can clearly see, I shouldn't say clearly, but we can see turn 2 fairly well.
Yeah, we could see turn 3 from this camera right here.
I thought maybe they were going to stop and put windshield wipers on so we could finish this thing.
Chad Hockenbraw needs a push off of pit road.
Man, that's our buddy from last
From
week.
Chicagoland, yeah, but they will not penalize him for this. During a red flag, they will push him, and he will be able to rejoin the field in the 8th spot, which is where he was running. As long as they can get it started.
So the field making their way back off of pit road onto the racetrack, falling behind the pace car.
Based on the conditions of the track, before we stopped, I'd be sitting there saying, won't crank, sorry, it won't go. Push me in the garage.
Again, out in front, Chris Buescher leading this race. Ty Dillon runs second. Tim George Jr., Brennan Poole, and Frank Kimmel, your top 5. Hessert, Enfinger, Hockenbraw, McCumbee, and Sean Corr, your top 10. Another car, the 59.
Buster Graham, not able to refire.
Pits will be open this time by if they want to duck onto pit road. Top off with fuel. They're still waiting to get the 58 of Chad Hockenbraw fired back up. Now, how much strategy goes into what you do now, DW, Phil?
Well, I mean, the front runners have all made their pit stops, so they're pretty good to go here. I don't think anybody's anticipating, based on what we've seen, you know, we're 5 laps from halfway. I mean, are we racing to halfway, or are we going to try to run this whole thing? We'll change our strategy once we know that.
And we know we can't make it from here.
Yeah.
On fuel. We can't make it 45 laps.
Got to see what happens.
The field moving once again at Pocono. Stay with us. Green flag coming up next. Welcome back to Long Pond, Pennsylvania, the Pocono Raceway. We're about to go back to racing. We've completed 36 laps. This will be the 37th lap with just 43 laps of racing to go here.
The fog is really lifted now. This is the best vision we've had since the very start of this race.
Just a little worried about the, you know, where the track is nice and dry, but they handled it earlier. I guess we'll be fine.
Green flag back in the air. Chris Buescher, Ty Dillon, 1 and 2 as they race past the start-finish line and into turn number 1.
We'll hold our breath here while we head off into turn 1, see how the thing's going to do, see if it's going to stick or not.
Buescher, the first one in, and the first one out of turn number 1.
Looked pretty good. Didn't see anybody sliding around much.
Our officials did a nice job checking the racetrack over, making sure that it was dry.
Yeah, they wouldn't turn them. I mean, the officials are not going to say, hey, we're going to go racing, and the conditions are not good. They know what they're doing. Get a little tight across the tunnel
early on.
There's a battle. That's Grant Enfinger going the inside, making it 3 wide, trying to get by Tom Hessert in the 52.
Hessert on the high side, the 52. Enfinger in the blue, number 36 on the inside as they go down the front stretch.
Chad Hockenbraw, the 58 car, was able to get his car refired on pit road, following Hessert.
Chris Buescher, Ty Dillon, 1 and 2 going into turn 1.
Phil, I'm really can't believe how nice the track is. I mean, as much rain as we were seeing on our camera lens, and you can see there's still some there now, but everybody's handling it perfectly.
Kimmel holding on to the 5th spot.
I think it never rained real hard. It was just an issue with the fog where the officials and the spotters couldn't see the cars on the backside of the racetrack.
It was just a little drizzle.
Visibility problems. Stopped the race. We had a red flag condition. Now back to green flag racing, coming up on the halfway point, a lap away from it.
You know, that 17 car, Busher, he ran that low line off of turn 3, and the car really stuck good for him. He's got a good handling car right now.
He was only about a half a second off the pole winning time of Brendan Poole. That last lap he ran a 54.33. The pole was a 53.80.
You mentioned Brendan Poole. He is all over the back bumper now of that 31 of Tim George Jr. And we're hearing from the ARCA officials they're taking a look at the 44. He might have a window net coming down.
Brendan Poole thought about making a look to the inside of the 31 of Tim George. Nothing that time.
You know, based on the interview we did with him when he was sitting there on pit road, that kid's got a good head on his shoulders. I think he's been just a little cautious, being sure the track's in good enough shape for him to make some moves here, which he's getting ready to look like.
Tim George Jr. trying to hold off that 25 Wendy Venturini.
Well, Jim and I had the opportunity to talk to many of these drivers during that red flag condition, and that included Tim George Jr. He actually had a little snack during that break. He ate some Lance Armstrong vanilla wafers as he was showing me, but right now he's fighting that race car against Brendan Poole. On the adjustments that they made, absolutely none at lap 19. He took 4 tires. He said the car was the best it was at that exact moment. We're just following them on the radio to see what exactly they could do to make his car a little bit better, as the 25 did get by him.
Yeah, that 25 is fast. He made a nice move down there in turn 1 on the outside of Tim George and was able to get by him. Now he's closed right up on the back of Ty Dillon, and I think he's got the momentum now.
Yeah, he really gained on time through that corner. Both of them running up in the grip strip.
Lap past halfway, and it's still Chris Buescher out in front. Ty Dillon giving chase, and Brendan Poole all over the back bumper of Ty Dillon.
Great race right now. Top 3 cars all together. Tim George about 5-6 car lengths behind. Poole gets loose on the high side.
Yeah, he got up a little wee bit too high. He made that work the last time by, but he got a little up in the gray, and I'm sure there's not any grip up there. You saw the car really wiggle around, almost spun the thing out.
That momentum, losing that momentum, is bringing Tim George Jr. right back into play.
He's had trouble in that corner already. We saw the car real sideways there before we had that last caution. So he's working it.
28 of Jake Crum on the inside of that 23 of Nick Igdalski. Nick Igdalski actually the president here at Pocono Raceway.
Yeah, and you know, watching those 2 guys race, that's the worst position you can find yourself in. When you're down underneath somebody and you just about have them cleared, but you're not quite sure, is he going to let me up or not? Saw that last night in the truck race.
He had a situation with Matt Crafton and Austin Dillon.
Yeah,
Ty's older brother Austin. Matt didn't realize that Ty had his nose stuck up in there. Came up the racetrack, made contact, and it turned Matt Crafton into the outside wall.
Chris Buescher checking out now on Ty Dillon. He's put 5 car lengths between himself and second.
Like you see here.
Watch that slow car up on top of the racetrack.
It's getting a little dicey right here, boys.
Benny Chastain at 75, not
Poole
at
now.
speed.
That's a nice move that he made right there. Went down on the inside, was able to get by all these guys.
Ty actually lost another spot to his teammate Tim George. Tim moves now up into the 3rd spot. Ty back to 4th.
Just not real sure which way to go with the traffic. Didn't know if they were going to stay a holder line or move or whatever. Created that problem there.
Ty Dillon in the 41 has dropped back to the 4th spot. Tim George Jr. up to 3rd. Brendan Poole running 2nd.
They're the teammates racing side by side. The 31 Tim George, the 41 Ty Dillon.
And you can see how that rev limiter works on these cars. In a cup car, you would be able to get that draft and go right by that guy. Here you just saw it stall out because of the limited RPM.
Oh, Ty way high up off the tunnel turn. Lost 3 or 4 car lengths to Tim George.
And that tunnel turn is a momentum turn. You got to be able to stay in the gas and run up off that corner, and you get a lot of momentum that way. But if you have to get out of the gas, it just kills your speed across that short chute, which hurts you in turn 3.
Chris Buescher out in front of the field in the 17, and Brendan Poole all over his back bumper now. So can Brennan Poole keep it pointed the right direction in turn number 1 and catch up to Chris Buescher? Stay with us. And welcome back. Speed, your Motorsports Authority, bringing you the ARCA Pocono 200 from Long Pond, Pennsylvania. There's the distance between 1 and 2. Chris Buescher out in front in the 17, and Brennan Poole in the 25 running second.
And Rick, that's what we were talking about in the opening, the compromise you have to have. Poole's car is not too good off turn 1 over. We see him sideways all the time. But here's where he's really got the car right. He gets into turn 3, and he has a lot more speed on this end of the racetrack. So Billy Venturini obviously said, okay, we're going to set up for the flat end, and you're going to have to hang on to it down in turn 1.
He was able to turn under Chris Buescher.
And you see, he just gets a great run off of turn 3, which is what you want.
Side by side for the lead. Can Brennan Poole take it back from Chris Buescher? Going into turn number 1. The turn that Brennan Poole has struggled with today.
It's really on exit that Brennan's been really loose.
Boy,
right when he turns that nose down, that's when he gets loose. He was able to hold on to it there.
If Buescher knew how loose he was in that place, he'd have stuck that nose right up under the back end of him. That might have been able to allow him to get back by him.
Jim Trado.
Just a quick update, guys. He said exactly that on the radio. He only said a couple of things since we went back racing. Did Brennan Poole in the 25? He said a little bit free off. You saw it there. The team cheered him on and said, you know what? You are faster than the 41. You're better than the 17. Just hit your line, hit your marks. And Poole making that pass in turn 1. How fast do you think they're going? 180, 190? This kid was in high school 3 years ago.
Yeah, the kid behind him, though, Chris Buescher, just turned 18, I believe, last October.
Right. This is his first start at Pocono because he wasn't old enough to race here last year when he was winning races at the short tracks.
Yeah, in the ARCA Racing Series, you have to be 18 years old to run racetracks more than a mile.
And look at Billy. I mean, pretty cool, isn't he?
Not
say, worried about anything.
It looks like a Saturday afternoon at the beach.
We got these guys right where we want them.
And he is checking out now on second place Chris Buescher. That's Brennan Poole, who won the pole here, has won at Salem already this year, and now has the second lead over Chris Buescher.
Don't forget now, these guys are going to have to make another pit stop. A lot can happen on pit road. You can get a speeding penalty. If it happens under green, you can have trouble on your pit stop like Brennan did on his earlier pit stop.
That was a race for the 7th spot. Chad Hockenbraugh has taken it away after not being able to refire on pit road. They got that car fired back up, and it looks like he's moving back to the front.
And this pit road is so long and so wide, really hard to control your pit road speed. You can get a lot of pit road speeding penalties here. Coming in, you come in really hot, and then you'll get caught leaving down there because you're not all the way out of the pits as soon as you think you are.
This is one of the few racetracks that you can exit turn 3 as fast as you can.
Yeah.
And then turn down towards pit road and hit the brakes and stop.
And that's where sometimes rookies, you know, they can handle the racetrack. It's all those other techniques that you got to worry about getting on and off of pit road, under green particularly.
Tom Hessert running in the 8th spot, Jim. Jim Trado.
Tom Hessert reported on that under the red flag. I walked over and asked him quickly, how's the car? He said very tight in turns 2 and turn 3. We have a tight condition. I'm trying to work through it, but unfortunately for Hessert, his crew chief's cheering to get as many spots as possible has worked in reverse. He's called it tight, tight, tight still. So Hessert hanging on has now lost 7th. He's back at 8th in the Federated Auto Parts Chevy.
There's your race leader.
There he is.
You can see
he is. Yeah.
Brennan Poole running 1.6 seconds in front of Chris Buescher here on Speed, your Motorsports Authority. Welcome back. The caution has come out once again at Pocono. It's not for precipitation. Our leader, the 25 of Brennan Poole, there's the reason for the caution. The 69 of Brent Cross.
Stalled on the racetrack. Was trying to get back to pit road. This is one of those places that if something happens to you on the front side of the racetrack, maybe even turn 1, there's no way you can make it all the way back around here.
It's one place you don't want to run out of fuel.
That's
I can
for
tell you
sure.
that, particularly if you're just going down the front straightaway here, because there's no way to make it back.
Going to be a great opportunity, though, for these guys to come down pit road and get to fuel. This should be their last scheduled stop with 29 laps to go right now.
Going to try to push that 69 of Brent Cross back into the garage area.
He almost made it. He was getting close, but ran out of steam.
The Aaron's Lucky Dog goes to the 43. of Kyle Martell.
That'll give us 14 cars on the lead lap.
How does that marry up? She's the last car on the lead lap, and then
she was able to get
Martell.
to Aaron's Lucky Dog earlier and stayed on the lead lap during this long green flag run.
Bobby Gerhardt back there. I know Bobby Gerhardt would love to win this race, but they just don't have the handle here that they have at Daytona. They got that place figured out.
Unbelievable.
Gerhardt from Lebanon, Pennsylvania. There is Kyle Martell, the recipient of the Aaron's Lucky Dog, gets his lap back. He'll be back on the lead lap. That, as you mentioned, puts 14 cars on our lead lap. "51 laps are complete." Let's take a look at the start of this race. Brennan Poole, Ty Dillon in that front row. Brennan Poole had his hands full early, especially in turn 1.
You got a little bit loose right there. That allowed Ty Dillon to get by to take over the lead.
And we saw Ty Dillon using the slower lap traffic, Mariette Defoe, to get by. The caution came out for George Cushman getting into the wall, and then on pit road, problems for the 25.
Yeah, Brendan Poole lost the lead here on pit road. You see the rear tire carrier fall down over the right rear tire that was rolled over to the left side of the car. Then the fog came. Not really the rains as much.
Got the jet dryers out. Track was in great shape. We go back to racing.
Green flag came back out. Brennan Poole worked his way back up front and was able to get by Chris Buescher to regain the lead. And that got Billy Venturini fired up. Take a look at our Messina Wildlife Management mid-race recap. Brennan Poole's out in front. We've had 3 different drivers up front, and the lead has changed hands 6 different times.
These guys will come down pit road this time. Pit road was closed last time. I'm sure they will open it this time. This is the money stop right here, DW.
Yes, sir, you got it. But, you know, Poole was so much faster than everybody else at the just before this caution came out. He was pulling away from their second-place car by 6, 7, and 8 tenths a lap.
You actually made a comment while we were at break that maybe they ought to try to reel in, maybe pull the reins in on that kid just a bit.
Yeah, that's the thing with young kids. Hard to slow them down. But that's a big advantage, too. You can always try to slow them down, but you have a hard time speeding them up.
So Brennan Poole just in front of Chris Buescher, Tim George Jr., Ty Dillon, and Frank Kimmel. They're your top 5. Kimmel again coming into this with 73 wins and 9 championships, the veteran of the field. Brennan Poole making the hard left turn, and he will lead the field onto pit road. Let's go to Wendy.
Well, as the cars make their way down pit road, Chris Buescher will be the first one down on my end, and he comes in second. And he said his car was a little bit better, but he needed a lot more of those adjustments. It's been tight in the center as he comes to his stop. 4 tires, fuel, and a track bar adjustment. They were the first car off pit road earlier on our first stop. Let's see if they can do it again. If we move forward to the 31 of Tim George, it's going to be 4 tires, and he spent most of his time studying the other cars in front of him and the lines they were following. Jim.
20 to 25 is in. They've already changed the right side Hoosier radial tires. Now changing the left. So the race leader, Brennan Poole, just a half a pound of air out of the left rear. They're going to add 4 tires. Fuel is in. They packed it full of Sunoco fuel. He stalls it now coming off pit road, the young man. The 20-year-old now off pit road. Pulls straight out, but loses a couple of spots.
He's at least going to come out in the 6th spot. Grant Enfinger is going to win the race off pit road. Tim George comes off pit road, I believe, in 2nd.
Yeah, I believe what happened to Poole, they were having a bad stop again, left sides, and I think he saw those cars going. He maybe panicked a little bit and stalled the engine trying to get going.
We're hearing a 2-tire stop for the 36 of Grant Enfinger. A little strategy coming into play, trying to get off the pit road and get that track position.
You know what? I like guys that gamble. We see it every week now, you know, on fuel, tires, whatever. I like guys that are willing to take a chance.
Chris Buescher in the 17.
Watch this now. You see these guys doing the pit work on Chris Buescher? Roush Fenway pit crew members. So more than likely, watch this close call as Brad Smith was coming into his pits. The key point in here is probably Sprint Cup guys that are helping this Roush Fenway developmental driver during this race here. Good pit work by these guys.
Nothing like being surrounded by good, smart people.
53 laps complete, just 27 remaining from Pocono. winning the race off of pit road. Grant Enfinger will bring the field back to the green flag.
Little two-tire strategy, not a bad move by Grant Enfinger. Try to get him some track position, see what can happen to his car in some clean air.
You know, he said he ran over 500 laps on his computer getting ready for here. I hope Billy Venturini and his crew are down there looking at these pit stops, because they were killing him in the pits.
Brennan Poole running in the 5th spot. So it's Enfinger, Tim George Jr., Chris Buescher, Ty Dillon, and Brennan Poole, your top 5.
It's going to get serious.
Green flag back in the air. Grant Enfinger leading the field into turn number 1. That's the shot we have back down the front stretch.
Trying to block Tim George. It's not going to work. Tim's going to jump to the outside.
Tim George Jr. trying to take the lead away from Grant Enfinger. He'll have it as they exit turn 1.
Nice move by Tim George. Grant Enfinger did not want to give that lead up. Tim George said, if you want to block me low, I'll go high.
Yeah, well, that high line off of turn 1 over there, get the momentum, made a nice pass.
Here comes Chris Buescher in the 17, taking second away from Grant Enfinger, and the caution comes out once again. This time, fog once again bringing out the caution and slowing the field once again. That's where your spotters stand and what they see. Can't really even see into turn number 1.
It's what they don't see that's the problem.
Yeah, we can see over to the backside of the racetrack. We can see in the tunnel turn. It's just over in turn 1.
It's moving in again. You know, it's moving in from the turn 1 end of the racetrack. As you look down, you can't see turn 1 at all.
Now, because they didn't get back to the start-finish line, Grant Enfinger is still going to be scored as our race leader. Because the caution came out before he completed that pass, that lap.
31's going to be the leader. They're
Tim George Jr. will have the lead.
They'll freeze the field when the caution flag comes out.
Okay. Into turn number 2, when they were doing it, he had the lead convincingly, and
he passed
through the
him.
loops.
Yeah, he passed him off of turn 1 over there.
Through the
down
loops.
the back.
So whatever the most recent loop was when the caution flag come out will be how they will line this field up.
And again, you see the fog rolling in from turn 1, and it just takes over this racetrack.
It just came in quick. I mean, I looked around just a few moments ago and was able to see the whole racetrack. We restarted, and it seemed like in a half a lap that it was again inundated in turn 1.
Yeah, it was severe clear when we dropped the green, but didn't last long.
It's severe foggy. Out front, though, the 31 of Tim George Jr., Wendy.
And I was standing Tim George Jr. at that exact moment. You should have heard the spotter. He was calling Tim George Jr. around the 36 at that time, and he said, "Oh, I lost you. It's fought. You're on your own." I mean, really, that's how it went. And so Tim George Jr. had to back it down. They told him, back it down, back it down. And they knew he got past Grant before that caution came out. But Tim George Jr. said he loves his race car. He loves it so much. And it says it takes about 5 laps before it gets to him, though. So he wants to get back some green flag racing in order to keep that top spot, because he feels like he's better on a longer run.
Tim George Jr. was able to grab the lead going into turn number 1 on that restart. Again, Enfinger had a 2-tire stop, came off pit road as your race leader.
I think it was a good move by Grant Enfinger. We haven't seen him run up in the top 5. Let's see if we can take a look at this restart now. Here's the restart. You see Grant, all the lead lap cars on the outside. Tim George right now behind him. That's Grant in the blue car. Tim goes to the inside. Grant said, "I'm going to block the inside." And then Tim goes to the outside. Said, I'm going to find me a way around you."
Yeah, we've seen through the years here at Pocono. Neil Bonnet did it way back when we used to come up here a long time ago in the Cup races. Neil Bonnet started that serpentine thing down the front straightaway, trying to break that draft. That was just basically a block right there, trying to stop a pass.
And if that block would have worked, the caution came out shortly thereafter, and he would have held on to the lead.
After that pass was made, the caution came out because of visibility, and you can already see how the fog was rolling in. When the cameras are obviously closer to the cars, they can drive around and see the track without a problem. It's the spotters not being able to see the racetrack.
That's the worst I've seen.
Yeah, I think right now, and again, 2 minutes ago, we said we could still see the backside of the racetrack. Now you can't see it at all.
Under caution once again in Pocono. Download the free Speed app for your phone. Keep speed at your fingertips and fuel your passion for racing between events with Speed on your phone. Get the latest stats, results, and news as soon as they become available. Download the app from iTunes or the Android market now. Fog still here in the Long Pond, Pennsylvania area. Out in front of this field a couple times, and a very dominant car has been the 25 of Brennan Poole, but he's had problems on pit road. Both times he came to pit road.
Yeah, this is the first time he came down. Watch the tire carrier after making an adjustment. He's going to trip over the tire. That's going to cost him several positions. He ends up coming out in 5th. Here's the second stop.
Yeah, this time a pretty decent pit stop. Not all that bad. A little trouble on the left front. But then Poole stalls the engine. He loses a couple of spots right there. So trouble in the pits on both stops.
He lost the lead on pit road, and the guy who was able to grab the lead on the most recent restart was Tim George Jr., and I believe Wendy's with him.
I am, and he is just sitting here, and we were just chatting. Tim, your race car looks really strong, but you probably wouldn't be too concerned if they called this right about now for fog.
Yeah, we'd be pretty happy with that. I'd like to finish it out, too, though, and race, to my first win here in the ARCA Series. We got a really fast RCR Chevrolet, and maybe it helps that I played golf with the boss yesterday. Beat him, actually. He was complaining that his hand hurt a little bit still, so I don't know if that had anything to do with it.
Oh, goodness. And there we go. It starts again. Tim George Jr. in that top spot. The first car off pit road with the 4 tires. Jim?
Wendy, the only guy that took 2 to take the lead was Grant Enfinger. And Grant, I got to ask you, what was the reason for the 2-tire change, and how much you got left for him?
Crew Chief Kelly Kowski made the call. I feel like it was a good one. We seem to be really good on the long runs. We just need 4 or 5 green laps to kind of get everything situated. We're not really dropping off like everybody else.
How about this race car? You think you can hang with the 4-tire guys?
Like I said, after a few laps, we definitely can. We just got to get, salvage everything we can for these first few laps, then I know we can run with them.
That's the thoughts of Grant Enfinger.
And Grant Enfinger in the 3rd spot. It's Tim George Jr. is out front. Chris Buescher runs 2nd. Enfinger is 3rd. Ty Dillon and Brennan Poole, your top 5. We're stopped for fog once again. Coverage of the ARCA Racing Series on Speed is brought to you by Messina Wildlife Management. Stop animal damage with Messina Wildlife Management. And by Aaron's. You don't need credit. All you need is Aaron's. Still under a red flag condition because of fog. You can barely see the spotters up on the grandstand from pit road, and that is the reason why we have brought the cars onto pit road. And the ARCA Racing Series officials have just called this race. With 21 laps to go, it's official. Tim George Jr. will get his first career win in the ARCA Racing Series.
What a great move on the restart to get by Grant Enfinger. And just after he made the pass, the caution flag comes out for fog.
He wants to know, can I get out?
I just stay in there. You've been in there for an hour now.
How about that? Well, what an unbelievable day. It started with precipitation. We didn't know if we were actually going to get the green flag. They were able to run quite a few laps early on. A caution came out. We ran quite a few caution laps, and then the fog stopped us.
I think some good pit work, some pretty good strategy. Had a fast race car. He showed he had a car capable of winning.
A milestone start for Tim George Jr. This is his 50th start in the ARCA Racing Series, and he gets his first win, and look who comes over to congratulate him. We need to play golf more, he says to Richard Childress. Let's go down to Wendy.
Tim George Jr., you're not in victory lane, but you are the winner today, friend. What are you feeling right now as your team was just congratulating you, RC walking up to you?
Well, you know what? Sometimes you got to have luck, and sometimes you got to have speed, and today we definitely had both. So put yourself in position to do well. Sometimes you do, and we've had speed every week, and really glad to bring this RCR Chevrolet to victory lane here.
What was going through your head while you sat here all this time watching the fog roll in over your car?
Well, you showed me your watch, and that was a long 15 minutes. That 15 minutes felt longer than the darn race, but we had a really fast car, and wasn't the fastest in qualifying speed, but we were really good in race trim, so I knew I had a shot at doing well if I could just manage lap traffic well, and we did that, so it was really good. We made the pass on the 36 there, and the caution came out right after, and we knew we were good to go.
And that pass on the 36 with Grant, man, it was close for that caution coming out. What was going through your head when you were making that pass?
Well, I just knew that, rain and fog are in the area, and I knew that I had to get this Chevy up front. And, I knew there was a chance that it could be called early, so I just knew that position was key here, and the guys did an awesome job on pit lane. I mean, seriously, awesome job, guys. Congratulations.
All right, and you're smiling, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Tim George Jr. celebrating here on pit road, not in victory lane, but nonetheless, his whole entire crew is here, including Richard Childress, his owner, and of course, Ty Dillon, his teammate, coming down here as well. Jim Trado.
And all car owner and crew chief Billy Venturini could do is come over and give a big hug to this driver, Brennan Poole. You certainly made it exciting from the pole. What will you take away from this event, finishing 5th in a race that really was what could have been?
Yeah, and unfortunately the weather just wasn't playing to our hand today, but we had a really awesome car. I have to thank Billy Venturini. Just thank all the guys at the shop for working so hard on this car. Lacey Green for supporting us this weekend. Her CDs just came out here for the summertime. Check it out. She's a great country singer. It was really awesome to have her on our car this weekend. And I just want to thank Scott Dobrin. Go to scottdobrin.com. Check him out. He's the biggest realtor in this area here in Pennsylvania. Just happy for that we were able to get a top 5. We had an awesome car today. Man, really would have liked to got to run the last 20 laps. Our car was really good in traffic. We came from like 4th earlier in the race and back to the front. So just would have liked to see how it went. But sometimes things don't go your way, and unfortunately the weather here today pretty nasty. We couldn't see hardly anything. I was messing with Billy on the radio. I was telling him, man, does it look like it's snowing to you? But we were having a fun time, and that's what it's about. It's about having fun. So just appreciate all the guys and all the help in the sport.
The thoughts of 5th place finisher Brennan Poole. Wendy?
Chris Buescher comes home second. Of course, not the finish the way you wanted to end the race, but man, your car was fast today.
Yeah, we were really good. I guess it's kind of a welcoming to Pocono, huh? Just it's unfortunate, wish we could have tried to at least race for it, but that's the way it goes sometimes, and they did what they had to do. So it was car was definitely fast. I mean, Rua Brothers did a great job. It's first time for us running this car. It's an old Roush Fenway car that we got a year or so ago, and seems to run really good. Just we needed a chance there.
All right, Chris Buescher, his 5th top 5 in 2011.
Thanks, Wendy. The fog is so thick we can't see Wendy right now on pit road, and we're in the press box. So it's pretty amazing how the fog has rolled in. After this, the 7th race of the season, we take a look at our point standings. Ty Dillon has a 155-point lead over 9-time series champion Frank Kimmel.
That's comfortable, 155 points.
Chris Buescher gains a little bit of ground with that 2nd place finish. He's now 4th, 225 points behind. Tim George Jr., by virtue of that win, now 8th, 410 points in arrears.
Mariette Defoe finishing 12th in this race, holding on to the 10th spot in the point standings.
That's pretty impressive. She's in the top 10.
So at the start of this race, it was Brennan Poole looked like was going to be the dominant car and run away with it. But pit road really was his nemesis today.
Yeah, it just wasn't meant to be. Had trouble in the pits, and then the weather got him. He had the fastest car, but it just wasn't meant to be.
He was able to overcome a first 4 pit stop, but wasn't quite able to overcome the second. Didn't have enough time, but a great move by Tim George to get by Grant Enfinger when he did. Great call by Grant Enfinger's crew to do 2 tires on that last pit stop to get him some track position, ends up with a 3rd place finish.
And no repeat winner since 2003. That's amazing.
The streak continues with new winners at Pocono. It was Tim George Jr. making his 50th start in the ARCA Racing Series, and he goes to victory lane. Amazingly enough, he only led 1 lap under green flag conditions, but he gets the win at Pocono.